Originally in Spanish, second half of 2022. Nuclear bombs do not work as described there. They go against many things, like the very behavior of matter resulting from gravity. So you can't release energy that way, as they say, because it is not contained, as human science claims. Mass and energy being the same thing, yes. Returning mass into energy, yes. But not that way, because the gravity that organized the matter would engineer that transformation within its own internal patterns, not explosively.
So, you mean it could not detonate?
Not under those parameters. Or it couldn't really. It's a fear agenda. Even Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the explosions are more consistent with a traditional bomb. Maybe dirty one with radioactive material, airburst, but traditional. There are high-powered but traditional bombs with a chemical reaction, not a nuclear one.
But then those bombs would somehow be clean. I mean, you could be there working a month later. Or would they leave radiation like an atomic bomb?
That's the way it was. The reconstruction was fast. It would leave it if they put plutonium inside the bomb, yes.
So when a nuclear power plant explodes, that wouldn't be like an atomic bomb explosion. It's just radioactive leaks, accompanied by normal explosions.
It is a very logical explanation within your parameters and can still be taken as possible within 3D. However, the evidence from here does not suggest a nuclear bomb as they describe it.
Still, the resulting explosion is terrifying.
Terrifying, but it may be chemical.
So it wouldn't be scalar anymore. Look at the halo above it.
Yes, I know. But if it were to make a chain reaction, as they say, there would be no Earth. There are still doubts about whether it would work or not, as they say. That is why the subject is controversial. Apparently, it is not possible, as they claim. Only suspicions remain because of the 3D and what the humans themselves manifest.
They wanted to launch one to the moon.
And they launched it on the Toleka in 2008. Another conversation. Why is this subject controversial? At the moment, I cannot elaborate on why. But I can say that they will not use them, atomic bombs, and that this is pure fear, with a view to population control. And even if they do detonate something, it will most likely not be nuclear, because there are explosives that make mushrooms. I cannot speak about it because I do not know how it works in detail. I mean, in great detail. But I would tell you right off the bat that the way they describe a nuclear detonation works goes against the very mechanics of the manifestation. In other words, matter does not behave as they say it does. But that does not mean that they are not using energy weapons, of which they do not tell people of their existence, because it would cause that same technology to be used for peaceful public civilian purposes, 0-point electrical generators. So they use the scientifically proven story with their limited mathematics to say that an unrealistically functioning nuclear weapon exists, just to justify the existence of energy weapons. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, sure. This sounds very coherent.
That is to say that they can be or could have used energy weapons and then say they are nuclear.
Right. They make that known. They would have to use that technology for the good of the population.
But it is also known and has been said that ETs are near nuclear plants or deactivating missiles, etc., and that nuclear detonations can influence other densities. They are scalar. How does this fit in here? Yes, and all that applies to energy weapons as well. But they are not nuclear, not as they are claimed to be. And if they are not nuclear, what are the ETs observing when they are said to be near the plants? They are observing the weapon system and the plants, as they do with everything. And yes, it is true that many of those weapons or power plants are against treaties and are dangerous for the human population, for the earth. Even so, they would not use them in a war because it does not benefit them. Because nowadays, everything is mediatic. They don't need a war if they can obtain the same suffering using other means. As for a nuclear plant, being that it has been explained before that they are terraforming plants, they work by heating water using radiation. This water boils, becomes steam, which then moves turbines that turn generators. So these plants are radioactive, that exists, and therefore dangerous. But they generate a minimal amount of energy to the power grid, because most of it is used as a generator of frequencies that alter the surroundings. That's why they are above ley lines, because that way they maximize their effects. They even consume energy at times. It depends on the mode of operation of those plants. And they are scalar too. That's why ETs are monitoring them. The radioactive is scalar, yes. Yes, that's why they monitor them. Also remember the existence of dirty weapons, where a traditional explosive, or energy, is used to throw a radioactive material all over the place, with a view to contaminate and damage the affected area.
But you said that the energetic is also scalar?
Energy weapon may or may not be scalar. It depends on its frequency of operation or the range of frequencies it uses. And in many of these weapons, this can be changed in settings. So what is meant by nuclear? How does a nuclear weapon really work? And why is the subject sensitive? It is said that a very dense material, weapons-grade uranium-236, plutonium or similar, using a traditional high explosive is subjected to a uniform pressure that compresses it to the point of collapse, compressing an already incredibly dense element. As the material is nuclearly unstable at the atomic level, this causes its constituent atoms to collide with each other, creating a chain reaction, like billiard balls where electrons, neutrons and protons collide, causing the other atoms to be destroyed, sending their own components flying to hit other atoms. This causes a large release of energy that looks like an explosion. The problem with this is that, according to our science here, that could not happen without a clear intention guidance from the gravity that is behind generating the very same dense material, that is uranium grade 236. Human science dictates that objects with mass generate gravity. But here we say that it is the other way around, that gravity and its dynamics of motion, that is compared with fluid dynamics, the same formulas can be used, is what generates a point of maximum concentration of energy. That is the object of mass or of great mass, observed from the point of view of the terrestrial 3D. That is, gravity generates the object. So the object itself is of no value as a container of energy, as described by Einstein's E equals mc2 formula that triggered the creation of the atomic bomb. Since E equals mc2 has many problems. E, energy, is equivalent to m, mass, times c, speed of light, squared. Since the error is that the speed of light is relative and not a constant. So the nuclear weapon cannot detonate as you are told, because it is not the energy container. It is gravity. So if the gravity that is creating the uranium-236 material of the bomb dictates that it has a node concentration at that point, you will not be able to disperse the energy by manipulating the object. Only gravity. And if gravity dictates that the object is solid and concentrated there, they will only be able to blast it apart with explosives, because it is another gravity interaction dynamic, and not in a nuclear energy release manner. In the process of chemical expansion energy release, molecular level, you can disperse an object by breaking it apart, like a stone in a quarry destroyed with TNT. But you cannot do it at the nuclear atomic level, because the matter is being generated by gravity as subatomic nodes. And the mathematics controlling gravity dictates that it is a solid object with mass, not energy. Releasing the energy from the mass would have to come from the gravity side. That is, change of what gravity concentrates in the node that manifests the piece of uranium-236. In short, you cannot release the energy in an object from a subatomic level, because the fluid dynamics controlling the gravity that is generating that object does not allow it. And it does not allow it because that gravity dynamics is dictating something else, an object, not a nuclear chain reaction. As stated above, mass does not contain energy. It is the result of an energy applied and concentrated at that point as a node. It is true that mass equals energy, but it is not harnessed as they are told at the atomic level, not with explosions. And I already gave away the delicate part. Thank you, Yazhi. I love it. But if it's the sensitive topic, you won't have any problems? Don't worry. It is sensitive for another reason. Because if you take away the concept of nuclear weapons, then people lose their fear of them. And with that, they become trusting. According to the Federation. That's what I heard. But I don't understand it. So it harms people if they believe that there is no such a thing as nuclear, so they say. Although energy weapons do exist. Energy weapons are equally destructive? Yes, they are equally destructive, but they are not nuclear. All to hide the existence of these technologies from the people. They don't want to give people these technologies. That's why they have to hide it, justifying everything as nuclear.
And how are these energy weapons generated?
With a 0-point reactor.
Free, clean, and unlimited energy.
The reactor drives the ion beam, which is the weapon, in the case of ion weapons. And who started telling the people this lie? It is believed that the Cabal started it, since the technology is basically German Nazi, regressive. Wunderwaffe is supposedly nuclear, or wonder weapon. German from World War II. Sorry, which technology is basically German Nazi regressive? Energy weapons that are justified as nuclear. Okay, and all this information is fact or deduction? It is a fact understood here by the Taigetans that I then studied. It is logical, and nobody sees it among the Wunderwaffe conspiracists. Because if they can create a Die Klingel, or that bell-shaped thing that used red mercury, they can also direct that same energy for destructive purposes. It goes hand in hand. It is called Das Glocke in German. That bell is just directed energy in the form of gravitational field distortion to levitate the object, and was a prototype for creating and perfecting the engines for Nazi flying saucers, the fliegende Untertasse of the Luftwaffe.
Each bell was a German UFO engine?
Das Glocke were development and test platforms for engines for fliegende Untertasse. Let's see, I still want to make another attempt to explain why the bombs do not work as claimed. The mechanics of manifestation dictates that large objects are formed from a matrix made up of smaller components, that is, molecules which in turn are made up of atoms. So, the mechanics of manifestation, as already published in detail, dictates that small nodes will be formed by the effect of standing waves and their harmonics of frequencies, which are the subatomic elements that together form atoms, which in turn form molecules that in turn form objects. So energy cannot be released at the atomic level because it disperses the gravitational standing wave that forms them in the first place, preventing any chain reaction of the type described by human weapons science. In other words, the standing wave that forms the subatomic elements does not comprehend that kind of energy release, since the mass of an object does not contain the energy. It only presents or manifests it. What really contains the energy is the ether and its fluid dynamics that we know as gravity. So they can only cause a reaction of a chemical nature, such as TNT, but not at the nuclear level. The mathematics, fluid mechanics, that controls the standing waves that form uranium-236 does not allow energy dispersion of that nature. Therefore, there cannot be a violent energy release reaction as described